as Rebecca just sort of talked through the Safer Spaces, Safer Places programme that we're going to present to you today, I'm going to do a sort of quick introduction, and then the bulk of the presentation today will be led by all of the wonderful team across the organisations that have been delivering the work, so they can share some of their key learning and insights with you. Just to give a bit of an overview of the model of work that we've been delivering over the last few years, if some of you aren't familiar with this. So the Safer Places project was designed to work across different layers when considering community safety. So this diagram just gives a bit of an indication of the different layers we've been working on, the whole community safety, young people feeling able to affect change around their safety, individual kind of work and one-to-ones and group work around safety and interpersonal relationships, and specific work in our special focus area of violence against women and girls, aiming to reduce harm and violence based on gender. So this kind of model of working on the various different levels has been a really important part of the programme for us. And as you can see, we've had various different activities, which are the words in black, the thread right across those different layers. So as Rebecca introduced there as well, young people's voice and peer research, engaging young people and gathering their insights has been a really key part of this whole bit of work, and it's really led the programme. Our board meetings, where we meet all of our partnerships regularly, have young people thread in that, so young people are leading the work as well as a really kind of key part of informing what we're doing and the changes that we've been trying to create. These are some of our first ever peer researchers that worked with us over a few years ago, that Anya is representing our peer researchers today. So as a top line, the key learning that's come out of this for all of us as a partnership, so really creating that space for gathering ideas and going from that to committing to put those ideas and insights from young people into action, into change making. And really delivering impact while generating those actionable insights. So lots of the projects that we've been delivering have been making a change in themselves, but also gathering insights so they can make wider change for young people, for the community, for the systems within which they live. And considering that model that I've just showed you, working across the key places in Teignbridge, and thinking about that sort of building momentum, engaging with people, capacity building, to really create a ripple effect, to create as much change and make the biggest difference for young people living in those communities, as well as the wider community themselves. So we had two big questions as part of this project. And the first of these was, how do we make the whole community safer with young people at its heart? And I'm going to now start handing over to some of the wonderful staff that have been delivering on this project. And firstly, we're going to go back to Rebecca so she can tell us a little bit more about Let's Talk.
Brilliant, thanks very much. I'm not going to take up loads of time this afternoon. I'm sure many of you are aware of the Let's Talk programme, so I'm just going to give you a little bit of insight and then give you some other opportunities to learn more about it at a later date. The Let's Talk programme is aims to educate and raise awareness of parents of the challenges that young people face in our community. So it lets them know about the risks young people face, but also gives tips and techniques in how to safeguard and support their young people to live safe and effective lives in the community. So Let's Talk has been going for a couple of years. Some of the money from the UK Prosperity Fund through the Safer Spaces programme has funded that. To date, we've had nearly 9,500 engagements on our Let's Talk platforms, and we're absolutely delighted. We've got Wendy Rowden on the call from the Office of the Police Crime Commissioner, and the Commissioner's Office have actually just approved £100,000 worth of funding to continue that work over the next 12 months, which means we will be able to deliver campaigns targeted directly at dads, but also be able to have a full-time member of staff working on this to make sure we can get it out to the hardest reach communities, and to continue this work. So we are launching a website on the 28th of April, so the website and further resources will be available, and we're running lots more sessions over the next 12 months. So you'll become quite bored with Let's Talk because you'll be seeing it everywhere, you'll be hearing it everywhere, and we are really, really keen looking at the whole community approach to make sure that parents understand the challenges our young people face and how to effectively support them in the best way to keep our young people safe and thrive and challenge things like misogyny and violence against women and girls. So that's probably enough from me on that one. I'll hand back.
Thanks, Rebecca. And we're going to move to Anya, if you'd like to take us forward.
Great, thank you, Emily. So I'm Anya. I've been the peer researcher on that part of this project. And I just wanted to start with one of the most overwhelming parts of this has been how engaged young people have been with talking about the safety in their area. We've taken a peer research approach, and all of the sessions we've run have been entirely opt-in. And in every session we've gone into, young people have been super keen, not only to talk about how they feel in their local area, but they've had lots of really insightful ideas about how those things could be improved. So we've worked across 3 different groups with 25 young people being involved, run 6 formal research sessions, but several other drop-ins to get to know those young people more and really build up those relationships that allow peer-to-peer sharing. In those speech bubbles, we've got some of the quotes from youth workers just to show really, really active engagement with the project, people wanting to share how they feel about their local area. The next slide. Thank you. A little bit about the journey that we've been on. We started with super open questions in those first research sessions so that we could be properly led by what young people wanted, not by a list of bullet points. Sort of, where do you feel safe? Why do you feel safe there? Taking those insights and drawing upon the master plan that that they're doing. We kind of found the My Journey Home theme, found a lot of the problems that young people were having were between that leaving school and going to bed window. We took that back to the young people to run a second session, focusing on some key areas, some key themes, so that we could both have the breadth and the depth of the insights that they were sharing with us. A huge part of the project and enabling the success of their sharing was this continued feedback loop we've had. It was amazing how much more open young people were with me when it became clear where their insights were going to go, not just into the void, but into XYZ meeting in a few days. It really opened up those conversations. Thank you. Next slide. So these are some pictures from stage 1. We took a map originally designed by Space for the last iteration of this project. For that super open question, sort of annotation of a map, what sticks out to you? So we could see what their areas of concern were rather than just a general. And then also, yeah, focusing on personal safety and the changes they wanted to see, not just their problems. And then the next one just has some pictures of our stage 2 research sessions, drawing that into a journey map, looking at real geographical information so that all of that could be combined. And the next slide. Thank you. Yeah, so these are some of the themes that came up across all 3 of the groups that we looked at. Lighting was kind of universal, certain areas that popped out. Drug education, as well as a real hunger for more drug education, appreciation of the education they've had already, but an ability to know about a problem that they perceived as being quite present in their community. As ever, a real desire for a warm indoor space that they could spend time that would kind of take away the need for other places where people don't want them spending time, like the multi-storey car park in Newton Abbot, buildings like that. What that really speaks to is a need for a warm, safe space for them to spend time. Police adult presence as well came up a lot. Difficulty trusting that a police response could help them in an immediate incident. And then the problem with criminalisation, once they're in those spaces like the multi-storey car park, how to ask for help without being punished for behaviours that they think they shouldn't be doing anyway. And then on our next slide, we have some quotes from the young people just to evidence the thing they've said. We're taking this peer research approach means you get really conversational, anecdotal information about each young person's actual experience. Yeah, I'm not sure. And all of those popped out of me from our sessions. Yeah, give me a second to read those, then we can move on. Yeah, the impact. The impact of these sessions. Oh. Thank you. Could we have the impact slide? Listen, thank you. yeah, the information that we got from these young people has fed into a huge number of things. Partners that we've been working in, the Newton Abbot Master Plan particularly has been helping with that redesign. We took some of the focus areas from that project into those stage 2 research sessions so that we could get directly helpful information. We've been redesigning the Newton Abbot Yes Centre, and because 2 of the groups that I was working with meet regularly in that space, they had some really interesting and helpful ideas about how they wanted to see that changed. Similarly, that information got a lot of reporting about behaviour on the buses, going to be reported straight back to people that can help with that, those organisations. Yeah, and then it's just project reflections. What has been really interesting across the project is how in tune with this kind of theme young people seem to be. There's a strong awareness of personal safety, all of the things that they're doing on their own in terms of they walk in groups, they know, well, they feel very able to carry themselves around other young people in a way that they feel keeps them safe. And similarly, that seemed to be very strong among families. Nearly all of the young people, especially in that 12 to 14 age group that we spoke to, had some sort of tracking device on their phone. And this was shared amongst peers. This wasn't an embarrassing thing. There's a very close link. And where young people weren't reporting to police, they were almost always reporting to family members. Those clear reporting pathways, like I mentioned, were really directly impacted young people's ability to share and their ability to conceptualize change. Quite often, their ability to share information came when it was all very hypothetical, rather than a clear, what would you like to change? It was always, if you in a million years had £1 million, what would you like to change? And that there was a shift in that when they knew exactly where that information was going to go. Yeah, I think that's what I've got to share. Thank you, Emily. I'll pass back.
Thank you, Anya. Maddie, do you want to take us on?
Hi, yes, I'm Maddie. I work with Space Youth Services, and I'll be speaking about another half of the project that we delivered. I'm going to take you back at the beginning to about 3 years ago when we started this project. We did a consultation with young people and developed 2 focus groups in Newton Abbot and Teignmouth to understand where young people felt safe and gather information around that. I'm going to focus on Teignmouth as that's where the project has developed. But we did do similar phase 1 in both Newton Abbot and Teignmouth. So we did a focus group with young people to understand where they were located in Teignmouth, where they were hanging out, what they wanted, what they felt they were missing. And we also did a survey across the whole school. So we created a survey to understand what they wanted and what they needed in their community, and we're able to access 170 young people for this. If you take me to the next slide. So this is one of the maps that we used for Teignmouth, so we could understand what was safe and unsafe where they were hanging out. And we were also able to utilize the information that gathered for this to feed back to local community members to create change in the community. From this, the survey and the focus group after the maps, we were able to understand a little bit more about what they wanted, and really it was about that safe place, again, which, as I'm sure you can tell from Anya's, is a common theme for them, wanting somewhere that they can be. If you take me to the next. This is some of the feedback from the survey. So 80% of young people from the survey in Teignmouth Community School thought that there needs to be more young people places, and only just under 40% of those young people would attend a youth centre cafe in the area. And 70% of those young people think it is important for youth centres to be accessible during the school holidays, which really draws attention to that. They feel that there is not enough for them in their community. We utilised all this information and took a direct approach in response to this to work towards a youth centre in the community that is created and led by young people, so that we can really access what they felt that they were missing. And so that takes us on to phase 2 of this, in which we took that focus group that we had in the original years to grow this and develop the representation so we could get more information from young people and begin to actually design the vision that they had for their community. They felt that the clubs and the areas were not for them. They wanted a warm space that they weren't going to be told off all the time for hanging out in. For example, McDonald's came up a lot, in which they want to hang out at McDonald's, but they get told off every time they gather there. As part of this group, we were able to find a location and begin to design the vision young people had on it, including like the code of conduct, how they wanted young people to utilize the space, what activities they wanted the space to be available to them. They designed like a tuck system in which they could access food available there and then have that be run by young people as well. And then they said what they wanted to see in that space as well. And then phase 3 led us to, oh, sorry, this is some of the young people we were working with designing the space over the year. This work with the young people, we were reaching like an extremely hard to reach group of young people, which led that as part of this phase 2, we were able to deliver in response to the conversations that were coming up, curriculum in order to support how to keep themselves safe. So we had lots of conversations about drugs, alcohol, vape, carrying weapons, ASB in the community, and how to make themselves safe to encourage that positive intervention for them during this group, while that we didn't have the space there for them in order to support them in response to the conversations they were speaking about. And then the next slide, please. Yeah, so then that takes us through to phase 3, in which we worked in partnership with the school and the district to have a direct response from what we had worked on the year before and actually begin to deliver. So our space changed a little bit from where we were going to deliver this previously, but we started delivering for young people because we didn't have a physical space. We started delivering for young people on the street and then worked closely with the school in order to start beginning a space. We've actually, in response to the young people that we were seeing out and about, moved the program from the summer to the after school, and we were able to utilize the sports hall to be able to, when it was raining, deliver some big fun activities for young people in the space. So we're now working out of the sports hall with the intention as our next moving forward, that we are able to secure a space. Some of the really great successes of this project has been that we were able to utilize the young people we had in these groups to increase their safety and respond to the conversations that were coming up for them. Also, the maps that we were able to use at the beginning 3 years ago have actually affected the patrol routes around Teignmouth for the police, and the police were able to use these maps to create the safer places or monitor the unsafe spaces in Teignmouth. We also spoke with the transport police around the railway station, and they were considering at the time altering CCTV locations based on the feedback of these maps. The relationships that we built with young people at this time were really amazing. It was a fantastic group of young people and they were incredibly engaged, and being able to reach that hard to reach group of young people really aided the views of what they wanted to feedback about where was safe and unsafe, and really capture where the young people who are engaging in ASB in the community and capture where and what would make them feel safer and where we could create a safe space for them, and then also to have those openly discussed topics. And the last success would be the direct response of us being able to actually deliver a provision for young people that have been designed by young people in this area. And we have actually, luckily enough, been able to keep delivering for the next year moving forwards, in the hopes that we can develop this and get increased community support in order to build this, as even when working with the focus group for young people, they have wanted to like build community connectors with the people in their community and be able to create a community space that isn't just for young people, that young people can engage with the outer community in the same space. I think that's the end.
Thank you, Maddie. So moving us on to the second big question that we had under the project. So the special focus around how do we reduce harm and violence based on gender? And I think for this, we're going to come to Space and Lucy next.
Hi everyone, I'm Lucy. I'm a lead youth work practitioner at Space and I'm the lead on the Is This OK programme. For those of you who don't know what the programme is, I'll do a little recap. So the Is This OK programme is a 6-week programme that works with groups of up to 10 young people aged between 13 to 19. The programme is a series of sessions that are early intervention, trauma-informed, targeted and educational. The programme works with young people who have been highlighted by schools as being the most at risk of experiencing or displaying harmful sexual behaviours, either in school, online or in the community. The programme includes consultation, evaluations and opportunities to gather young people's lived experiences about the types of sexual behaviour they've experienced online, in school and in the community. We utilise a youth work approach, so the programme is voluntary and it creates a safe space for relationships between youth workers and young people and the school to be built. The programme includes education around healthy and unhealthy relationships, violence and abuse in relationships, pornography and the law, challenging misogyny, consent and the balance of power, safety in the community, violence and gore and harmful content online, and how and where to report. And we also focus on the DOINC scheme as well. The programme is designed to be supportive rather than a deterrent. So no matter the young person's background, they will receive the same support and educational programme. We don't use scare tactics. And the programme is young person led. So although each session is underpinned by the same curriculum framework, it is driven by the young people's voices. So we using again the youth work approach, we shape each session around the young people's interests and their lived experiences, which gets us a bigger focus on the areas that they've identified as being the most concerning or the most important to them. And we've got a little demographics pie chart here. Yeah, that was just to show you the referrals in regards to the ACEs that schools highlighted. Domestic violence was a higher proportion. Young people who have either experienced or witnessed domestic violence within their home. We had a higher proportion of young people referred into the programme who had experienced this. So this is over the since the project began in 2023, we have engaged 302 young people across Teambridge in this time, and we've had a pretty even split of participation, so 159 young men, 143 young women, and within the last year we have worked with 134 young people. Across the whole 3 years, we've delivered 32 groups in 7 secondary schools across Teambridge, with 228 sessions delivered in total. And throughout, a big outcome of ours for this last year was around capturing even more in-depth lived experience and increasing the local intelligence picture around unsafe places within Teambridge as a whole. If you could take me to the next one, please. Thank you. So what you're seeing here are some of the statistics that have come out of our programme. The programme is lived experience and data driven. So we gather both numerical data and lived experience to improve services and challenge decisions to improve the outcomes for young people. We do that by completing a pre and post survey at the beginning and end of the programme, a pre and post knowledge quiz to be able to demonstrate learning, annotation during activities, quizzes, interactive activities, and location specific maps, which you'll see a little bit of in the next few slides. We gather anonymous data from young people regarding their lived experience of harmful sexual behaviour, and it ensures that the intervention that we provide is truly reflected of their experiences and their reality. We are committed, as Becca said, to combating violence against women and girls, and so by ensuring that we are capturing this data means that we are able to provide real on-the-ground intelligence from young people about what is concerning them. So what we're seeing on the screen are, I think, it's pretty the differences between young men and young women in regards to what they are experiencing. This was completed during our pre-survey, so of our 6-week program. During week 1, it was reported that young women are experiencing a lot more harmful sexual behaviour in terms of catcalling, inappropriate images online, unwanted sexual comments, unwanted physical touch, flashing and controlling behaviour in relationships than young men. However, with the caveat that this was week 1 and we rely really heavily on that 6-week relational building period. So it's often the statistics from the final week regarding what young people are willing to disclose that they have experienced is a lot higher as we have built the relationship over that 6 weeks. On the side here, we have an activity that looks at the type of harmful content young people have experienced online. So 89% of the young men that we worked with had been sent graphic gore content online, and 92% of young women had been sent sexual content online. That could be pornographic images, requests for nude images of themselves, or having been sent nudes or indecent images of other people. We also in the beginning of this year, we completed a consultation as part of the programme funded by Safer Devon, which included young people from Teambridge. We spoke to 704 young people about their experiences of harmful sexual behaviour, and of those, 62% of young women disclosed that they had experienced or witnessed a behaviour that made them feel unsafe, uncomfortable or disrespected because of their gender. Of that 62%, 72% of that had happened at school, 56% was online, and 48% had happened within their local community, either on public transport, on the street, or in local spaces like parks. We also asked the young people, what would you like to learn more about in order to feel safer and better able to deal with situations that make you feel unsafe? And young people highlighted, the top 3 that they highlighted were more education around how to recognise abusive or unhealthy behaviour, how to challenge misogyny, sexism and harmful stereotypes, and understanding consent and healthy relationships. The next slide, I'm just going to say it contains quotes from young people. It's their direct lived experience of harmful sexual behaviour within either online, within school, or within the community. So this is just to let you know that it can be a little bit upsetting. If we can go to the next one, Becca. Oh, nope, sorry, Emily, thank you. So the quotes in pink, these were captured from some of our young women who have taken part in the programme. So I'm going to read a couple of them out. So one young woman in year 9 reported that she was stared at on the train and a man followed her and her friend home shouting, "Where are you sexy ladies going?" An old man videoed me on the train and then spread rumours that I'd given him a blowjob when I didn't. My ex would yank my hair when we were kissing and slap me. We have a really short space of time to build really open, honest and safe relationships with young people, and we feel very if they feel empowered to share with us their experiences. And one of the things that we ask when we gather evaluation at the end is whether or not you will use what you've learned in this program to keep yourself safe, and 100% of young people that said that they would, and 94% said that they feel confident enough to share what they've learned in the program with their friends. So we really encourage although the program is targeted, the learning from the program is to be shared, and it's about culture change and denormalizing the fact that this harmful sexual behaviour is happening, and it is happening for every young person, whether or not they are 13 to 19 or the consultation I mentioned earlier included young people from aged 11 to 19. So we're trying to capture a much wider demographic in regards to ages. If we could go to the next slide, please, Emily. Thank you. So I mentioned one of our outcomes was to gather location-specific intelligence around where young people feel unsafe within Teambridge as a whole. So we have within the programme delivered the following maps. And we've worked with Newton Abbot, Teignmouth, Dawlish, Kingstainton, Bovey, Tracy, Ashburton and Buckfastleigh, and sought input from young people around the areas within those towns and villages where they feel unsafe. So we focused here just on Newton Abbot because that's the bulkiest one. So we had 17 maps completed within the programme. And all of that data is then collated and a digital version is produced. But if we stay on this slide, let's move to the next one. Sorry, move to the next one. Thank you. So 17 maps were completed for Newton Abbot, and we have created a digital version of that map. The key at the bottom indicates how many times each specific location was mentioned. There is a breakdown of what was mentioned at those spaces as well. So as you can see, the town centre and Bakers Park were highlighted most frequently by young people. I'm going to read you a little summary of those two as they are the most noted. So for the town centre, experiences reported by young people included catcalling, people taking drugs at night and drugs in town. Fighting and drugs were noted outside clubs, which impacted young people's feelings of safety. Multiple safety concerns from young women, including dark alleyways, rumours of stabbings within the town, and feeling scared at night. One young woman who was in year 10 said, "I don't go out at night because there's dark alleys everywhere and it scares me." There were also reports of sexual assault and harassment from adult men within the town. Another young woman who was in year 9 reported, "Weird men have tried to touch me as I walk past them," which made her feel really unsafe to be out at night time. If we jump to Bakers Park, the feedback reported from those maps was young people perceived this area to be unsafe, sharing reports of knives and glasses on the floor and a lack of cameras. Reported activities included people having sex and doing drugs in the bushes. There were multiple concerns raised about older men waiting for children to walk by. There were also a lot of tragic mentions about people taking their lives and the method in which they did that within the park. And there was a general mention of strange things happening there and a feeling of really unsafe, but that does not mean that young people are not in those areas. There was also, as a previous impact of how this data has kind of been used, we had an instance of, sorry, Becca, I'm going to pull this one up again. Young women had reported that there was an incident of a man coming into some public toilets in Newton Abbot town centre, and the a phone being passed underneath the toilet door and taking photos of them whilst they were getting changed after school. So they were in their school uniforms and they got changed into their own clothes. A phone had been put underneath the toilet door and photos had been taken of them. They reported that to us within the sessions. We were able to take that to the board meeting and the Community Safety Partnership, and as a direct result of that, within 3 weeks, the toilet doors had been adjusted and changed and built full length, so cameras could not be passed under it there anymore. That was a really amazing, like you said we did, and we were able to report that back to the young people that we were still seeing, and they were like, wow, someone's actually listening, someone, they care about our safety. And that was a really, really, really positive example of how youth-led intelligence can make our spaces safer for young people. We could go to the next one, please. So this is my last slide. So the feedback from the programme has been generally really positive. Schools highlighting that young people feel more confident in their knowledge of the subjects that we covered. And they've also said that the relational youth work approach to this subject has meant that young people felt more able to engage with the programme and remove the young people, the barriers from young people feeling able to be involved. Young people's feedback also included that they felt the sessions were a really safe space to ask questions without worrying about getting into trouble, and the youth workers were really approachable. There's been a culture within a lot of the schools that we've worked in of young people using their language. As we know, young people they will say what they think, and if they are asking questions, not necessarily using language that we might find appropriate as adults, but they're using their slang, their terminology, that landing them in hot water at school and them not getting an answer to that question. So the reported feedback from young people has been that when they've been in our sessions, they feel like the barriers to they'll get an honest answer to a question, and it will be factual, it will be educational, and they feel that then they can share that with their friends. And we also ask schools, do you think the programme has been beneficial for the young people involved? Happily, 100% of the schools that we referred into us said that yes, they did think it was beneficial. And we also asked them if schools felt that they would benefit from additional training around how to support young people to understand the dangers of sharing indecent images and the impact of violent pornography, and how to challenge misogyny. And 100% of the schools did say, I think we need more support with that. With the topics requested, schools would like to learn more about how to promote respectful relationships and gender equality, how to challenge harmful content online, including misogyny and incel related narratives, and social media and the impact of online influencers. We also asked schools what they thought was the most impactful part of the programme, just so that we can continually update it and make sure that we are meeting the needs of the schools and the young people. And healthy and unhealthy relationships, understanding consent, recognizing abuse, and how to challenge misogyny. They thought those were the areas that young people benefited from the most about getting that additional education around. I'm really aware I've probably talked for way too long. I'm so sorry. I'm moving on. Go.
Thanks, Lucy. Cassie, do you want to pick us up?
Hi, I'm Cassie. I am a youth worker from Young Devon, and I have been working on the Voices to be Heard project. So this is a project that we have been working on with young boys aged 10 to 12, but we were based in primary schools. We've been working with year 6 boys. The next one. So back to the beginning again on this part is, at the very beginning of the project, we had a big question that was, how do we change the culture of misogyny? So we took this to 180 young people who helped us to explore it, and that question of how do we change it. And their idea was that this work needs to start younger. So that's what we did. We designed it and we adapted it to fit with this younger age range. So we've had 21 sessions delivered across primary schools and community settings. So we've been able to go into those primary schools. We've had amazing opt-ins from them, from the parents, from the young people. That's all been great. And we also went to a couple community settings within this area as well. We've had 54 young people engaged, and they've all been really engaged. They all want to talk, they want to share, they want to explore this that maybe they aren't exploring with other people. It's kind of given them that chance to chat openly about it without it being a scary topic or something to avoid just because they're younger. Actually, they want to talk about it, and they know a lot more than we probably would imagine or think that they would. We've had Youth Voice shaping delivery. So we had it at the beginning, obviously shaping this whole project of this is what we need. So we did that around this project, but then also throughout the project, so young people could come back and say, actually, can we do this? Can we learn more about this? And that's something that we were able to offer as well. Same as Lucy's project, we've done a youth work approach. So we've opened up a safe space. We've tried to keep it fun. We've had opt-in. So that's opt-in from the school. We gave parents an opportunity to opt in their children, and we also had the children that were opted in as well. It was just giving them that chance that this is voluntary. This is something that we're here to do. If you want to talk about it, please come along. And I think that really helped to open up the discussion as well. It wasn't like another lesson. It was actually, no, I do want to be here and I do want to learn more. We had really early signs of increased confidence and engagement. So we gave young people the opportunity each session to rate their confidence on the topic we were talking about at the beginning and at the end. And we saw such a growth as that went. So it would start off with a higher confidence, but then as we went, the confidence just grew and grew. Then the next one. So this is just a little breakdown of kind of what the project was. So we were working with small groups up to 10 in primary schools. It was a 6-session program, and it gave them the chance to explore gender myths and stereotypes and what it means to be me. So what it means to be a boy in today's society. Again, just the thing about feeling empowered, co-designed, open spaces, a safe space to talk, a safe space to explore. And our main aim was
transform the culture and impact of misogyny. So we wanted to challenge ideas, and we wanted to get that through young people's voices. And hopefully it was it's a big ask, but we wanted to kind of change the whole system, and we wanted to give young people the opportunity to do that as well. So again, year six people that we did, we had one mixed group, and then the rest were all boys groups, and families as well if they wanted to benefit. And then the next one, that's just kind of saying what I've already said. Sorry, Emily, next slide, please. So this is just a little bit of a highlight on a couple of the sessions that we did. So I'll start with ARMA first. So ARMA is, so actually, no, sorry. On our sessions, we'd watch a video, we'd have a discussion about what the video is, and then we'd do an activity. So ARMA is a really great video that shows actually that in our day-to-day, what bits of armor do we put on to try to fit in or to change ourselves or to be different to what other people want us to be. So the ones on the right are the ones that young people have drawn for us, and that kind of gave them an opportunity to think about what armor they wear day to day. When do they wear it? Why do they wear it? Who do they wear it with? And how does it look for them? So we had really interesting conversations around armor and masculinity. So a lot of boys saying that they feel like they put armor on when they're maybe feeling upset because they think and they hear that boys shouldn't express emotion. So they feel like sometimes they'll put their armor on when they're feeling sad, so people don't know that they're sad. We also have it where people, maybe there was an example on there about they would laugh at something they don't find funny just to fit in with friends. They'd follow on with a topic of conversation just to fit in with friends, or they would maybe pick on someone else because that's what their friends do. So it just gave them an opportunity to visualize for themselves things that they do and highlight what that looks like for them and why do they do it and where do they do it. And then also going on to the impact diamond, so about changing the whole system, is our approach was to use these sessions as an opportunity for young people to become champions within their communities. So to take their learning forward and share it with the people around them, within their schools, within their friendship groups, families, and just their community as a whole. So these are impact diamonds from 2 of our schools, and this is the ideas that they came up with. So one of them wanted to make a YouTube video that they would then put on YouTube, and they would share it in their school within an assembly. So they kind of planned out, they wanted to tackle people being stereotypical and prejudiced and misogynistic and racist. And they wanted to make that video and share that out and share their ideas and do that. And then another school again took on the assembly idea. So they have put together a PowerPoint of the things that they've learned, and they're going to go back into their school, into different year groups, and teach what they've learned within the sessions and just share that forward. What we did is at the end of the sessions as well, we gave each young person a little gold star. And we had one young person who said, I'm going to spread the word and tell people in the school, if you want to talk about something, just look for the gold star. And I just thought that was really lovely and so nice. But yeah, next one, please, Emily. So this is some feedback we had. So we've got so we asked schools for feedback, and we also asked young people for feedback. So from the schools, allowed further exploration and more in-depth conversation than they're able to have in PSHE. Children were fully engaged and opportunities to raise questions and discuss things. And again, definitely consider it for supporting your PSHE lessons and for educating the younger generation. And educating them around their future responsibilities. Young people said it was really fun. It makes me question things. The leaders are nice, kind, and generous. It really makes you think, and I want to influence others to change, which again was just really important because, as I said, that was our kind of main aim, was to equip these young people with the skills and the knowledge to be able to go and have these conversations with their friends or with their family, and just to feel confident enough to maybe say, actually, I don't think that's nice, you shouldn't say that. It's just that building that confidence is key, I think. And then on to the next one, please, Emily. And this is some pictures from reflections from young people. So they felt that what's really good was learning about genders and stereotypes and other things they didn't know. It built their confidence. It was a good opportunity to learn this, and they appreciated all the learning. They felt that being with friends and being able to be listened to and treated well was a really good part about it as well, that they could share their voice without being judged or interrupted, and people would listen to them. And then we also asked them, what would you tell a friend who was thinking about attending these sessions? So we gave them the opportunity to give feedback in a way that felt more like them. So how would you tell a friend to come? And they said that they would tell their friends that it's okay to be yourself rather than being mean to people, and that the sessions are fun, great and amazing if they want to talk about being a boy. Next one, sorry, Emily. And then these are just some of our impact, reflections and future hopes. So I guess the impact was, I've spoken about already, but strong engagement, trust and informed consent. We had informed consent at every level. We started with the school and we got consent to go there and do it. And then we also followed up with phone calls with parents just to give them a little bit more of an idea around what the project is and what we're going to be hoping to talk about. And then again with the young people within that first session. A safe space to enable confidence, leadership and discussion. That was really key. We had some really cool key themes around consent, masculinity, inequality, safety, emotions. We also had a lot around wanting to challenge stereotypes, wanting to challenge prejudice, and just that whole idea of actually understanding that, no, I don't think this is okay and I want to keep taking this forward. We had a really positive feedback and a really strong demand for expansion. They always wanted us to come back, and on the last session they'd say, give us more. We're hoping that we have embedded learning for long-term sustainability. So we're really hoping that the part of being a champion is going to continue and they're going to take that forward and they're just going to keep spreading the word. Again, from the ratings, we saw that we built a lot of confidence in young people, and even with staff, I guess, to have that knowledge that we've equipped the young people with is actually that it's a conversation that it isn't so scary to talk about, and let's talk about it together. And hopefully my biggest future hope is that this starts ripple effecting across the community. So they do take this forward and it just keeps going out and out and out. They just keep spreading the word, and everyone else is spreading the word as well. I think that's all of me. I'm not sure, Emily, is there any more? No. Thank you.
That was lovely. Thank you, Cassie. Mark.
Yeah, I'm Mark Geary. I'm the locality manager for the South team in Space Youth Services, and I've only been involved in the project for just over a year now. But this was some of the things, particularly after we had a bit run through of this session and what everybody's been talking about what some of the takeaways and some of those reflections and things are. So I've put a few in there. So particularly that superb collaborative working between Timbridge District Council, Young Devon and Space Youth Services really enabled this work to happen. It was really good, really positive. And the amount of young people actively participating in this project, really informing the agencies around young people's feelings of security, important. And there's a need to continue the work around safe space for young people in Teignmouth. We've seen what Maddie has said, and times where perhaps services should be available, including school holidays. And this has furthered really good working relationships now with the Teignmouth Community School and indeed the wider community, especially going forward. Lived experience informing the community has been important, and the peer research that Anya's doing being really important, having a full picture of young people's thoughts and feelings. And this, of course, increases those relationships between young people and other professionals across the area. So we thought that was really important. And the work that Lucy was doing really shows a need for ongoing work around the subject of misogyny and violence against women and girls, and indeed the stuff Cassie has as well. It's been really important, I think, to emphasise that that's a really important piece of work and still is ongoing going forward. And the importance of that work at primary school level for early interventions in educating young people and informing teachers, and indeed, giving them the best start and stuff. Cassie was really saying that, can we really sort of develop those things further? So I think it's really important. So that actual 4-year journey, I think, has been a big impact on young people through a way of educating unique to youth work values and principles. Been really important on this project, and it's had an impact on professional organisations who see issues and solutions through the eyes of young people that we work with daily. So it's really important that young people's voice is heard. And I very much see the impact on our local communities, raising awareness from their perspectives on young people and the issues that affect them, and indeed I think everybody else across their different communities. Short and sweet, but yeah, it's been really, really good project. So moving on, Emily.
Thank you. I'm going to leave a couple of these final quotes up and also hand back to Rebecca to finish up us and finish us up and invite any questions. Thank you, everybody. Lovely to hear from you.
Thank you, everybody. So back to me. I just want to say what an absolute honour it has been to work on this project for nearly 4 years. And I'm going to summarise some points and then from my perspective, and then open it up to any questions that we've got from the chat before we close this afternoon session. what Safer Spaces work has given me, I've been in community safety for over 25 years and in local government for nearly 30. But I have a much better insight and understanding of young people's experiences in my community as a result of this work across all of the different projects. And the other thing that's given me is that real faith, understanding and passion for making sure that we have some youth-led responses to this, youth-designed responses to this. You know, Cassie's just talked to us around the Voices to Be Heard project, where you've got young people wanting to change communities. That was designed by information given to young people, given by young people around this. So it's been a young people design, young people reflect, then redesign. And to me, what's been really beneficial is that the flexibility of approach over the 4 years has meant that we've amended and we've improved and we've enhanced based on what we've learned. The other thing that's a massive takeaway for me is that young people really want to be involved in these conversations and debates. They want to influence change, and they want to look after each other as peers and make each other safe. But also they're really clear that it's not all their responsibility to look after themselves. We need to design safe communities, which we have a responsibility and an opportunity to do through things like master planning and our design of our spaces. And it's also really, really clear that we have got opportunities for significant cultural change. We can do cultural change with our parents, we can do cultural change in our communities, and even, as we've heard, within our schools and our youth settings, where we're challenging some of those ideas and concepts. The importance of safe places is something that when we sat down and wrote the first bid 4 years ago, we thought was at the heart of our work, and I'm even more convinced of that now. And when I talk about safe places, I'm talking about safe geographic places and physical places, but I'm also talking about young people having safe places to explore the really complex, challenging, confusing world that young people live in, with some of the things that Lucy talked about around the experiences that young people have on a daily basis. Being able to speak to somebody in a youth work environment or a peer researcher who doesn't come back with a judgment and isn't terrified about what that statement is and can unpick that and look at the reasons behind that to properly challenge that is really important. And what we have heard from our young people over this programme is that this has been unique to them, to have those safe spaces and trusted adults where they can say the things that they think or they hear, to properly explore that in a safe environment and also challenge each other a little bit on some of that. So being able to have those conversations with real honesty and integrity, and that is how you change, and that is how you change a culture and you influence people. I think the other thing for me is that whilst, like I said at the start of this, I'm really sad that the project has come to an end. That's only happened as a result of the end of the funding, not as a result of the end of the commitment to this work by us as a community safety partnership or a council. But the voices that we've heard will continue to be utilised and to be used in our work going forward. We had a session with Anya just before this session on a lot more detail around the master planning. And again, we'll get Lucy's maps and the insight that Lucy has got given us around the geography and make sure that that's shared appropriately. And we will continue to use those young people's enthusiasm and voices to influence change in our community. As the chair of the CSP, I've also got a commitment to try and find some more money because we have heard around young people feeling that they are safer equipped and they will be safer equipped to work with other young people to generate change as a result of being in our programs. We need more young people to experience that. And again, for me, being able to influence in year 6 at primary, that maybe we can get people before they've experienced some of those negative experiences and they don't have to experience that because we're getting in early enough. So I will continue to try and seek that funding. There are some lights on the horizon in relation to Safe Devon Partnership has some serious finance funding, and some of this work is currently being considered for expanding across the county in those areas. But I would just want to end my bit reiterating the voice of the Year 6 boy from Exminster. I want to influence others to change, but we need to give our young people and our communities the tools to be able to change. So that's my bit that I'm going to finish with and open up for questions. And questions can come obviously to any of the panel. But Councillor Richard Keeling, if I come to you first, please.
Thanks, Becca, and thanks to your team today and those that work with you in this area. It's opened my eyes a little bit, especially around, you know, we put a lot of money into youth centres. We're going to have to seriously think about all the other options for safe spaces that councils can provide. My concern is certainly around, I think Maddie mentioned that only 38% would actually go to a youth centre. And that's concerning. We need to probably look at that more, because we do invest quite a lot of money, especially in my area. But can I say, as leader of the council, thank you very much for the work that you've been doing, Becca, over the years with Team Bridge in that. One of the other, so that's one question is, you know, youth centres and safe spaces, can they be the same thing? And how can we evolve the youth centres into that? My other question is as well, was around the intelligence report. Chudley wasn't involved in that, and that's quite a major town with a youth centre. And in the information gathering that everyone's done within this call, have they been in the youth centres and spoken to the youth in those centres? So that's my couple of questions there, if you can answer them.
Okay, if I can have a go at the first one, and then I'll hand over. I don't know if Mark or anybody else wants to come in on the first one, then we'll pick up the second one around the intelligence reports. So firstly, youth centres and safe spaces, can they be the same thing? For me, what we've heard very much from this is we know that our youth centres are really, really well used, that the curriculum and the content in those centres is really powerful, and that our young people are getting a lot out of them. Youth centres are not going to appeal to all young people, and we can't have them open all of the time. So the bit for me that we've heard very much from the young people that have engaged in the programme has also been around safe spaces where there is an adult present that doesn't provide youth work in the way that we think of youth centres. So for me, it's around a bit of a mix of that if we can build capacity from our community, we might be able to give more access to those. So it's a bit of a mix. And Mark, I don't know if there's anything that you wanted to come in and say on that, no. But that's my kind of initial view.
Absolutely, and I saw Steph had put your hand up as well, Steph, so you might want to add something to this as well. But I know that we very much the youth centre is very important, a big part of it. And actually the work that Maddie was doing with the young people within Teignmouth and Teignmouth School, they were really keen to look at having a youth space that was like a youth centre and stuff that would go around. So there would be an Ardell link there, and that's what we're pushing forward, and that's the next steps and stuff from this project anyway, is to look at we've got a building in mind, and we can actually then sort of get that up and running. But Steph, was there something you wanted to say on that?
Yeah, just a real quick point around that. 38 to 40% of young people said they would use a youth centre. I think we need to look at that in the context of any provision is only designed for around 25% of the population. That's why you have to have choices. If everyone wanted the same thing, then it would be a really easy thing to cater for, wouldn't it? So 40% is actually a really high percentage. I think the challenge for everyone becomes, how do you get the right services to the right young people in the right way and at the right time? And youth centres are one of those right places for the right groups of young people. There needs to be a selection of options that appeal to different young people at different stages in their lives.
Thanks, Steph. Can I come back as to whether anybody's got an answer to the second one, which is around the intelligent report in youth centres? So I know that some of the work was carried out in youth centres, but has anybody got a more detailed answer that they can give on that? I can't give you an answer specifically around Chudley, but unfortunately we were limited in resources. But Mark or Steph, do you know?
Lucy, actually, I think Lucy would be the one. Go on, Lucy.
No, I was just going to with regards to the question about Chudley, the maps that we completed, as I said, the groups that we delivered to are quite, they're targeted, so it's up to 10 young people. If young people don't spend time within those locations, it's really difficult to gather their feedback on where they feel unsafe. So Chudley wasn't an area that young people were spending a lot of time that we worked with. That's not to say that Chudley is not an area that needs to be looked at. It's just, as Becca said, unfortunately, resources kind of was a barrier for us to working with young people that spend time in those areas. So the 6 that we have gathered on are, which I've already, King Stainton, Ashburton, Bovey, yeah, they are the places that young people have been spending time, and so we're able to give us, you know, their kind of experiences of what they'd had there.
But that was young people led, not
That
us
was,
saying
yes.
which places. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and you might want to say more, but the peer research that results that Anya talked through were gathered in King Stainton Youth Centre, and also in our hubs groups with our boys and girls hubs groups that are the Yes Centre in Newton Abbot.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pelthorpe.
Yes, thank you, Rebecca, and thank you to everybody involved in this, because I think it's been a fantastic project over the last 4 years. I mean, my question is how do we sustain this? Because you're quite right, if this ripples out, there will be more and more young people wanting to be involved and wanting to be able to discuss their issues as society changes. And I'm very conscious that if this is the end of the project, what happens next going forward? And of course, that's about resources and funding. So the question I would ask really is, who is approaching the funding apart from Rebecca seeking funding, and how are we going about? Are we involving the towns and the parishes where these young people come from, along with the district council, to look to see how we can fund this going forward, and what kind of funding we're talking about? Because I think it's important that we continue it from a personal point of view, rather than just cut it off, because there's so much potential. The only trouble is the word potential means you haven't achieved anything yet. You know, I wouldn't want all this to be lost as we go forward. You know, so that's my question.
I couldn't agree more, Councillor Pelthorpe. And, you know, what we've now got is some tested models that we can provide a unit cost for. And there is a unit cost because we're working with 2 voluntary sector organisations that are providing this within Space and within Young Devon. The other challenge for me is how we make this sustainable, because as a district council, asking 2 voluntary sector organisations to step up a project and find all the resources and the staff to do a project, we need some sustainability around that going forward. So anybody that you can think of that we can have a conversation with, we're in regular conversation with the Office of the Police Crime Commissioner, with the Safer Devon Partnership, that we looked for any opportunities for funding to continue these pieces of work. But at the moment, we're not aware of any funding sources currently available that we could continue this work with. I think your point around conversations with town and parish councils is really, really important, particularly around the safe space agenda and locations where young people can go and have that safe space, which, as we've discussed through this, doesn't have to be a fully established youth centre with all of that facilities. It does need a trusted adult to give stewardship, and young people want that, and also to make sure that we can bring in other resources when needs are identified. But